Players are setting out their prizes, Pheasantipity, a couple energies, and that's that for me. Code breaking, some Pokemon search. Meanwhile, for Hedrick, you got that Budew in the prize cards.
Yeah, it's just the one copy in the list, so we'll not have access to that as an opener, which we've seen sometimes have success against Gholdengo players.
You got Counter Catcher as well. That's something that could really come in handy throughout this game. Night Stretcher up in the top as well. Does play two of those, so I think we're going to have a pretty good game here, Kyle.
I am certainly hoping so. 75 minutes to see two great players going at it to see who will make it into our top four. Joining Lucas Zing, we have the fist bump and we are underway.
Let's get going. Duskull in the active for Andrew. He's going to start things off for us. Does have that Buddy popping though, so we'll see at least a few Treepy.
Yeah, what a great start to see. Not only the Buddy popping, but the Lance to follow things up. You just start licking your chops, thinking about what potential you have there, and might as well take a look at all those great Pokemon that will soon be in your hand.
Yeah, it really is great. The playability that Lance has in this deck, where we see it really just 3 to 4 copies in every Dragapult EX deck we've seen for the past month now.
It works out so well. It's just a very simple supporter that finds your dragon Pokemon, but under the Budew, that's simply all you need. It's great against other matchups where you're potentially facing off against Budew. You can still set up your board. You feel very comfortable just taking the slower approach, evolving these Pokemon one stage at a time, using that recon directive and seeing all sorts of cards.
And speaking of a slower approach, that's what Andrew's gonna kind of do this game. You don't want to give up 2 prizes too early to Gholdengo, because their whole game plan is 2-2-2, knock out those big EX Pokemon for those 2 prizes, and not have to waste a lot of those basic energies with your Make It Rain attack.
Well, on the other side, we know that the math can line up pretty unfortunately against Dragapult. 200 damage, 60 onto a Gholdengo, and then use Boss's Orders or Counter Catcher, 260. You lose 4 prize cards right then and there. So what do you do to combat that? Well, you have the inclusion of the Monkey Dory to assist, move some damage off of your Pokemon, and also the 2 copies of Professor Turo's Scenario to help out cleaning up some of that damage.
Now, another inclusion in Trevor's deck is that Spiritomb with its ability to be able to shut off those Pokemon V abilities. Now, Hedrick isn't playing 2 Lumineon like we've been seeing for a lot of these Dragapults, but there is the 1 and a Rotom V, which could help kind of smooth out those early hands.
Yeah, so often you're not doing anything on this opening turn. And if you're fortunate enough to find access to that Pokemon, that's just 3 free cards. We see Ultra Ball in hand, but this hand is
I don't
pretty strong.
any of these.
I don't, yeah. I mean, I don't blame you for wanting to see 3 additional cards. Thankfully, with the energy already in hand, you have the luxury of finding a Pokemon like Rotom in this spot.
Yeah, discarding that Boss's Orders along with a Dracloak. You're going to be able to find more Dracloak next turn with Lance. So it seems like a pretty safe discard. Again, checking the prize cards. There's none in the prizes, so still will be able to get a fully set up board on the next turn, and you're going to be able to do it with 3 extra cards now.
Yeah, and not to be forgotten, you're playing against an opponent who does not have any way to disrupt your hand. As soon as cards enter your hand, it's up to you to disrupt yourself with Iono. You can continue to stack this hand. These 3 cards in combination with the Lance, using all of those Dracloaks on the following turn, you're talking about potentially 10 cards in hand, and you're really starting to move at that point.
Yeah, and that is that one technology that we saw Lucas utilize with that Roxanne. Like you said, there is no hand disruption for Trevor's deck, so Andrew can just feel free to build up that entire hand throughout this entire game.
Well, this is why you attend your local league, folks. that is an absolute beauty to watch. That almost every card in the hand there has the stamp.
Listen, you got to play Pokemon, you know? Now, with that concealed cards, finds 2 Arven off the top of the deck. Going to start things off with the Nest Ball, though. Do a little bit of prize checking, make sure you want to know what you want to commit to. But I think we're going to see some Gimmighoul.
Yeah, Gimme Ghoul, obviously one of your favorite targets to see. You got to find many of these Pokemon as early as you can, evolve, and avoid running into any scenarios where these Pokemon can potentially be picked off early in the game, and just start rolling that coin bonus as soon as possible. Turn 2, and we've seen some of these decks even get 3 of the Gholdengos out and just start drawing every card. You're threatening big knockouts, and even a Pokemon like that Rotom V could be in danger next turn.
Yeah, and with the way that Trevor's hand is kind of built right now, does have the Arven. I believe I saw another Nest Ball. Looking at the prize cards, the Technical Machine Evolution is in the deck. So we could see just 2 Gholdengo hit the board this turn and have a really good setup for the following turn.
Yeah, it's really nice to see that Arven on the opening turn and then follow up with the Cypher Maniac's code breaking on the following turns. You're likely to see your stage 1 evolutions in that Gholdengo. You still have that Radiant Greninja established. Drawing those cards off the top that you've already established are going to be the 2 best cards to see. Certainly going to continue to build on your board state and maybe even lead to prize cards.
Trevor doing the final kind of deck search, seeing what cards are prized. It really is so important to these beginning turns to figure out what you have available to you in your deck, because if you go for that one play 3 turns down the line and it's not in the deck, it really could swing the game.
All right, we see the dark energy in the discard pile already. The Monkey Dory being eyed up as a Pokemon that you probably want to focus on as you need it for defensive purposes. And this is one of the problems that we see as some of the Gholdengo players run into, is if a Dragapult deck gets a little too aggressive, starts to push that pressure, you don't have time to attach energy to a Gholdengo and get that dark energy onto the Monkey Dory.
Trevor already has that Technical Machine in the hand, so didn't even search out a tool with the Arven as the second Nest Ball to find that Monkey Dory if he wants. This turn's pretty much mapped out how you would want it for a Gholdengo player.
Yeah, we see that the Psychic Energy is the card in hand. Now, if you're planning on retreating and maintaining the Radiant Greninja, then I can understand wanting to use that energy there, but this is also fantastic. You have the Technical Machine Evolution, and that's going to lead to some quick Gholdengos onto the board.
Now action back to Andrew. Has that Duskull in the active. That's going to be one of the big players for this match, I believe, where just trying to manipulate the prize cards and the damage, especially if Monkey Dory starts to get going for Trevor's side of things, to be able to take a one-hit on stuff like these Gholdengo EXs.
For sure, and we see the Lance now. That's a lot of pressure that's going to be placed now onto Trevor. The evolutions here of the Dracloaks, finding all those additional cards, using the Recon Directive, you're just building towards potential for a pretty aggressive turn. Rare Candy is a card featured in the list. You don't have to evolve all these Pokemon into Dracloak just yet, and maybe there's potential for a turn 2 attack.
A lot of the times, this matchup in particular, you really need to get essentially 3 Dragapult charged up throughout the game to really take it down if your opponent does get a good setup, and I think that's what we're going to kind of see here. So having access to that Rare Candy could be beneficial, but honestly, just kind of forcing Trevor to maybe try to target down that Rotom V might be more beneficial than getting that quick Dragapult EX attack.
Yeah, it's so unrealistic to see the right cards. A Psychic Energy, a Rescue Board, and the Rare Candy were all needed to be found at that spot. You can't Recon Directive into all those. So evolving these Pokemon here, having the Fire Energies established, so you have a threat for the following turn. It should be plenty to make Trevor feel a little bit uneasy here.
There is that instant charge and a pass of the turn. Andrew building that hand yet again, looking like a pretty stellar board. Energy on each of the Dracloak. Now we know the Budew is prized for Andrew, and it's usually an early game attacker trying to stop your opponent from getting set up, but could we see it later on trying to maybe catch Trevor with no energy, just a bunch of superior energy retrieval in hand.
Absolutely. That's one way that you can slow opponents down greatly. Another way is your opponent just does not have energies in hand, just double superior energy retrieval, and you don't want to use that for 2 energies. So we see the retreat for turn already happening now. Gholdengo to the active spot, thinking of using that coin bonus for the additional card here, and Arven will be the choice. I think we might be seeing A-Spec.
Yep, Energy Search Pro. It was at the top of the deck. Could have coin bonused into it, but opted for the Arven. Of course, guaranteeing this powerful A-Spec only for this deck. You're not going to see it anywhere else.
I'm sure there's a really cool theme deck that's rolling with this. Some ho-oh guy is really upset with you right now.
I am sorry, random ho-oh person.
But look, this is not the greatest.
Yeah, you got a fire and a grass in the prize cards. You're down a psychic and a dark.
Prize 2 one-of copies of energy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not fun. Yeah, you don't need much to take a knockout here on a Duskull, but only 5 energies. That's a rarity.
I think the rarity's common.
It is common.
So now 5 energy. Of course, that metal that you can attach for the turn, so you can use Make It Rain. Gonna have to discard 2 energy to take a knockout on the active Duskull. That's 60 HP, just a little out of range of discarding that 1. Of course, you don't have access to Monkey Dory's Adrenaline Brain just yet, but hopefully within the coming turns.
Oh, we see what now, the 3rd superior energy retrieval to the hand. You start to consider once an Iono is played, all those at the bottom of the deck could be heartbreaking when you need to knock out a Dragapult.
Along with 2 Cypher Maniacs code breaking as well. Yeah, this hand is just screaming for Andrew to Iono next turn.
I promise it's not good. I'm only knocking out a Duskull. But you know what? That's enough pressure at this point. We see Radiant Greninja finding some additional resources, but there's not much else that's needed to be done on this turn. Gholdengo just apply a little bit of pressure and take a knockout, and from that point forward, you're waiting to see what Mr. Hedrick has planned for you. It's not pretty.
I guess the one good news about having to discard 2 energy here is now your discard is really just stocked full. You got 5 energy there, so your superior energy retrievals for the future will be able to grab you some of these big knockouts. Now, you really do need 7 energy, is that what it is, for a knockout on a Dragapult EX. Of course, with Monkey Dory damage, you're able to bring that down to 6, but it is still a lot to ask for.
Yeah, it's so much, and then especially when you consider that with each passing knockout, the Iono just makes the draws a little bit more unlikely to occur. It's you do have coin bonuses, you do have Radiant Greninja, but prizing those 2 energies, it might come back to bite him.
Andrew has a lot of plays available to him for this turn, and is really just thinking about this play. Drew a Pheasantipity for the turn.
Yep, you need to know how many cards your opponent has in hand before you get the ball rolling. Do you want to continue to add to this current hand if you're planning to use Iono? It starts to hint that maybe Iono's not going to be a play this turn, and you can use a Dragapult, place a lot of heavy damage onto the Gholdengo, and make your opponent have to really work for 1 big knockout first before you punish with Iono.
Now, a great card was found off Recon Directive, that 4 Sealstone, being able to be utilized with that Rotom V on the bench to find any card that you would need. And as of right now, I think Andrew still needs a Psychic Energy to attack. Can use the Iono, try to hope to draw into that. That way you don't have to use that 4 Sealstone to find it later on.
Yeah, with that missing link there, you need the Psychic Energy to keep going. You don't want to use your Sparkling Crystal in that spot, and you didn't have either one. So not a bad play to place all of those great cards on the bottom of the deck for Trevor.
Well, there is that Psychic Energy, so we will see an attack here from Andrew. Still has the option with 2 Recon Directives and potentially the 4 Sealstone to find something like a rare candy to evolve into that Dusknoir and maybe maybe take a knockout, maybe spread some damage, or just have it in play so you can manipulate stuff later.
Yeah, we see the counter catcher also added to the hand, so some additional play there. If you are threatened by a Pokemon like that Monkey don't want the math to get in the way, but I think you'd like to see cards like Night Stretcher already played at that point if you're going to take a route like that for a single prizer.
There's both Recon Directive. It does find another Dragapult EX, so we'll have a potential attacker next turn as well. And that's assuming everything goes wrong for Andrew. Trevor lining up those damage counters for this Phantom Dive. And I think now Andrew's just deciding where he's going to place those damage.
Yeah, this is a spot where you see your opponent can really benefit from a supporter like a Professor Turo, just removing all of the damage on the board from the active Pokemon if it's all placed on the Gholdengo. And that's why there's a consideration here from Andrew to maybe use this counter catcher. And you could place 60 damage on a Pokemon, but at that stage, you might be playing into your opponent just a little bit. You could make them have to play Metal Energy, have Dark Energy in these spots, and it's actually going to be the Gholdengo without the Metal Energy at this point.
Yeah, this is an all right move just because it kind of forces your opponent to not get that Dark Energy on the Monkey, so the damage is kind of safe, technically. Of course, there is those Professor Turo scenarios, like you mentioned, along with one copy of Switch. So you would be able to get that Metal Energy to Gholdengo back into the active, attach a Dark Energy and Adrenabrain to kind of save it.
Yeah, you
can't save both.
You take a big risk trying to avoid the Turo in that spot. But if you could see a world where if Turo was found, you pick up the active Pokemon, you find the Dark Energy for the Monkey, you move the 30 damage from your damaged Gholdengo on the bench, and you basically negated an entire attack.
We're going to see the first coin bonus off the active here. That allows Trevor to draw 2 cards.
Oh,
finds the Turo.
That opens up.
Long with the Night Stretcher.
Yeah, then that opens up all the plays. Both of those cards, nearly exactly what you'd love to see in that spot. Dark Energy already in the discard pile. If it is going to be the Monkey, you have to think that playing defensively in a spot like this could be beneficial. But how much can you attack into this Dragapult for?
Yeah, we are lacking energies so far. Now you can discard some with Pokestop, maybe find Earthen Vessel. There's still plenty of outs. You also get another coin bonus draw for 2 after the Turo is played.
Yep, I like using this one down at the bottom of your screen here for 1, as it's likely the one with the Metal Energy could be promoted to the active. Superior Energy Retrieval already in hand. Pokestop being eyed up too.
Yeah, I think you have to go the Pokestop route here and just hope you hit energy, which is fine because you have multiple Superior energy Retrievals or Earthen Vessel. Ooh. Does not hit either of that. Does get to draw 3 cards though, but those 3 cards do not matter.
You have 5 energy in the discard pile. Just does not line up for any knockout, but maybe incorporating a 2-hit KO wouldn't be the worst thing. It doesn't feel great. You know your opponent does play that Professor Turos as well, but there were 2 energy attachments committed to this Dragapult. That's a lot that that Andrew has to think about if he does commit that.
It seems to be, what, 3 energy left in the deck? And you need 2 of, technically all 3 if you want to do the Monkey play.
Plays aren't over just yet. There's still Superior Energy Retrieval first, using the Radiant Greninja for some additional draw. You could then use the coin bonus if you really want to get aggressive with using the Turo and just commit to the line.
Trevor trying to thin the deck out as much as possible. Finds another Gimme Ghoul with that Buddy Poffin. Again, has the Professor Turo in hand. So this Gholdengo in the active will be able to get healed up.
So many intricacies to think about as you're trying to knock out this Pokemon. 320 hit points. Monkey can move with that 1 Dark Energy. 30 damage onto that Pokemon. Then you need 6 energies for the knockout. We see the availability of 4.
Trevor's eyeing down that Arven. Arven can go ahead and grab that Earthen Vessel, get you 2 more energies. But that allows a potential big play from Andrew next turn.
Yeah, this does not prevent the knockout on this active Pokemon. It invites it, but it guarantees the Earthen Vessel at this point. And that knockout still feels pretty good.
Now, Earthen Vessel is going to go ahead and grab 2 energies. One of them is going to be the metal and the dark, potentially. You have to attach the metal to the active now. I don't think I see the switch in hand.
Yep, I have not seen that resource either. And that is one of the main issues of this play is if you do have to play down this metal energy, you are not attaching dark energy for the turn to Munkidori.
And that just means you need another energy to knock out that Dragapult EX in the active spot.
That's not adding up, Jeremy.
Not a mathematician, but I agree with you. We just need a better look at Trevor's hand here. So there is that dark energy, metal energy, Night Stretcher. So I guess you do get another draw as well with Greninja if Trevor wants to. But then you might have to use another superior energy retrieval.
And this is the debate. If you throw away the metal energy, then you don't have the attack on the active. You'd have to use the superior energy retrieval first to throw away energy you don't care about.
Coin bonus for another Night Stretcher. So I think with that, you might be able to at least safely concealed cards this turn. Potentially.
It is a pretty valuable resource. It is just the 2 copies of Night Stretcher in this deck.
I mean, we could still see a switch off the top as well.
That is one of the key pieces for sure.
Superior energy retrieval switch.
Wow. And you know what? On the very last draw is able to find that resource. So clutch to find. It seemed like it was not going to happen this turn, but has the switch now, can bring the Gholdengo into the active spot, can find with the superior energy retrieval the dark energy to attach to the Munkidori, move some of this damage to prevent the 4 prize knockout, and should still have enough resources to take the knockout on the Dragapult. It's going to be the very last energy to get the job done, but this does not feel like the best use of your resources.
It's fine. It's fine. You know, I do believe you really just need to take a knockout every turn, especially against a deck like Dragapult, where they can set up these board states where they're taking prizes all at once.
Well, Budew just saw that and said, well, you don't have any more items left. I don't know if I'm going to help out. But this is also one of those turns you talked about. This is almost every energy being played on this one massive swing turn. How do you come back from this if you don't have energy cards?
I guess the one solace that you have is the Budew is still in the prize cards, so you don't have to worry about that too much. There is that darkness energy on the Munkidori that will allow Brain to move those damage counters off Gholdengo onto the Dragapult. Now, do you move it off of the active or off the bench one with 200?
I'm pretty worried about the energy that I have on the active Pokemon. I think I'd rather preserve those hit points, even though I have one Pokemon desperately in danger on the back. It just depends if I really think that I can incorporate Professor Turo on the next turn. If that's the case, then I'm going to protect the bench.
Heavy Ball grabbed that Pheasantipity EX from the prize cards. A great resource for the following turn. Bench is full now, but with a simple knockout from Andrew's side of things, we'll be able to help you draw more cards, hopefully into more superior energy retrievals and the such. Here is that Brain. Which one does Trevor choose? Looks like the bench one. Now that's going to go down to 170 damage. Put it out of range of that 60 from Phantom Dive. And with that 30, that means just 6 energies will be able to take the knockout on the active. It took a while to get there, Kyle, but Trevor finally found the line.
Yeah, I mean, he had to chain together 14 different actions, whatever it was, in order to do this. Almost every ability on the board was used, including Pokestop, to get the job done. And Arven was the last piece, which was a supporter you probably didn't feel like was going to be used on that turn. Sure enough, it got the job done. The switch was found, and that was the magic piece.
Now, unfortunately for Trevor, there is still those 2 energies in the prize cards. Is going to have to try to make some magic happen in the following turns. Meanwhile, Andrew has been building up this hand. There's another Dragapult EX, a Psychic Energy, plays the Pokestop, loses a Boss's Orders, but gains a Nest Ball and a Night Stretcher. Trevor is also down to 3 prize cards, so that kind of makes Dusknoir a little bit awkward. It would allow Trevor just to take a knockout on something like that Rotom V4 game.
Yeah, that's a great point. As Dusknoir starts to look even better, as soon as you see that there's potential for that 4-prize swing on the bench Gholdengo, you can remove that Pokemon before a Turo could ever even see play. And these are all points that Andrew needs to consider. There's also spots where if you think that your hit points are at risk on a Pokemon like that Rotom, you could incorporate the Professor Turos of your own as a defensive measure.
Yeah, you also have to realize that that Rotom is sitting there with a Forest Seal Stone. Andrew has not used his V-Star power just yet, so does have access to anything in the deck.
Looks like the last piece missing in order to find that Dusknoir would be the rare candy itself. Radiant Alakazam now also being brought to the front of the deck with the Nest Ball.
Now, I don't know if Radiant Alakazam's Painful Spoons adds much to the math here, because that Gholdengo is a little bit out of reach for that now, but rare candy found off the Arven, so we will see a Dusknoir hit the board this turn.
Yes, just looks like 10 short of any important math you'd need on the Gholdengo, but the Dusknoir is pretty massive there. You can move some damage counters off of this Pokemon. It's already in range of the Curse Blast, and this means you can target down the Gimme Ghoul.
So we're going to see a 5-prize turn here, most likely. Psychic Energy on that active evolves into that Dragapult EX. Cursed Blast from the Dusknoir takes the knockout on that heavily damaged Gimme Ghoul EX on the bench. Now Trevor does get a Grass Energy from the prize cards, and the supporter was already played for the turn, so Andrew does not have... Oh wait, does he just have game right here? Wow, double Dusknoir, Curse Blast, Night Stretcher, Rare Candy yet again, takes the knockout on the Monkey Dory, and then cleans up the game with a Phantom Dive, knocking out the Gholdengo EX and the Gimme Ghoul. What a turn from Andrew. We were talking about it before, and he has done this all weekend.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem possible when you see the hand. You look and you're starting to wonder, how can he find all of those rare candies to get the job done? But then he can bring it back because he has the Forest Seal Stone. He finds the tools once more and just cleans up an entire board so quickly. It is so dangerous to leave any damage on board in this matchup.
Yeah, that was insane. Let's go ahead and take a look at the replay and see what happened in that game 1. Now, it started off with Trevor taking the knockout on the Duskull. Really just inconsequential, taking the knockout on that single prize Pokemon. We saw Andrew get that Phantom Dive off, spread some damage, and it took about like a 10-minute turn from Trevor, finding everything he needs to take that knockout on Dragapult EX. But that was all Trevor had left. Andrew just had everything for him in that hand. Forest Seal Stone, Rare Candy, yet again, Night Stretcher, double Curse Blast from Dusknoir, Phantom Dive. 6-prize turn.
It lined up so easy, and that's just what you come to expect now from Andrew Hedrick when he's playing this deck. There's so many different avenues to close out. You start to consider, well, do you need to do hand disruption? What do you need? What you need to do is just fill your hand with all the different resources, and eventually you're gonna find the answer. And he did just that the entirety of the game, starting with that turn 1 Rotom.
Yeah, Rotom putting in a ton of work that match, not only drawing 6 cards, but also finding that rare candy from the deck thanks to that Forest Seal Stone. And it has been one of those cards that is like 50-50 in a lot of these Dragapult lists.
Yep. I think what we can learn from this game is that potentially there was a hiccup there from Trevor where you could have played the Professor Churros, gone a little riskier, used the coin bonus for 2, tried to find some of those resources. Instead, played it safe, kept a bunch of damage on board, and found a pretty quick punish right afterwards.
That was a very quick pass to the turn from Andrew, but did have at least a Dreepy and that Rotom, so instant charge, able to draw 3 cards. Now it is Trevor going second in this game. Found double Buddy Poffin off of this Radiant Greninja, I believe. That is where you want to be. Now, if we could see the play again of Technical Machine Evolution, but wow, look at those prize cards, Kyle. Double Professor Turo and the 1 switch.
How do you move? Help!
Very slowly.
Yeah, that is a disaster to see. I think those might be 3 of the most impactful cards in the matchup. Just having the ability to remove the damage, switch your Pokemon once the damage comes into play. It's just avoid giving those additional easy prize cards to Andrew. I'm not feeling great about that, but I do love the opening hand with the double Buddy Poffin here. There's a great opportunity to have a very aggressive start.
Yeah, there's an Arven and an Energy as well to go along with it. So we'll have access to that Technical Machine Evolution and use that Evolution attack to grab a couple Gholdengo EX from the deck.
It lines up so great. One unfortunate piece once more is just starting with that Radiant Greninja in the active spot. It leads to one of those awkward spots where you don't have the Metal Energy down turn 1 on a Gimmighoul. That's what opens up avenues to having that Dark Energy played onto the Monkey Dory and not having to worry about Professor Churros or trying to incorporate that at a different spot of the game. This is an energy that is all but wasted on this opening turn, but for good reason.
Earthen Vessel found along with that Technical Machine. We'll be able to cycle through, get a couple more energy as well. Now, it seemed like Trevor did everything he could possibly do last game to just play the game. Now, there is no energy in the prize cards. Going to be a little bit easier. That Energy Search Pro is going to matter so much more now.
Yep. We see the water energy found off the Earthen Vessel, just maximizing the potential for the Energy Search Pro to find all of the unique types of energy. Just these are the little things that you have to consider as you're playing a deck like this. Give yourself the maximum odds to take those huge knockouts.
Yeah, you always want to play that Energy Search Pro for like 7 cards. That feels good.
It does. It potentially could see 8 cards, as we've seen from some players, and just any amount of thinning, any amount of additional damage that you can do, it feels so good to have those options.
Pokegear 3.0, going to look at the top 7 and allow Trevor to grab a supporter. Does find that Cypher Maniac's code breaking. Will be pretty good to kind of guarantee a knockout next turn.
It's a debate because we see the boss's orders as well. If you think the hand has enough legs, maybe you can take a risk there, but we've seen him go for that more consistent approach. We saw that with the Arven on the one pivotal turn, and this time will be the same with the Cypher Maniac.
There is that energy attachment along with the Evolutor. We'll be able to get those Gholdengo EX into play, but that is the turn from Trevor. We'll have to see what Andrew can cobble together here. Again, only that one Dreepy able to evolve, but has a Dracloak right away.
Yeah, we see the rescue board in hand, so a little bit of maneuvering available. This time as well, we knew that the Budew is a potential play to slow down your opponent, maybe just that one more turn, but is this going to be a spot where you have access to those resources? It looks like Arven was added to the hand, so I'm feeling pretty comfortable now.
It's no Lance, but it'll do. Now Andrew will have the time to prize check, see what is in the prizes, and looking at that, Sparkling Crystal wasn't really needed last game, but it's always great to have available. Go along with an Iono. There is 3 in the deck though, so you won't have to worry about that too much. Again, Dragapult EX, not too bad. Overall, not too bad.
Yeah, I mean, this is a spot where Trevor could be very aggressive, could have the cards for Boss's Orders, Knockout, putting pressure on your Cloaks. Did not go that route because he chose to go with the Cypher Maniac's code breaking, but that kind of pressure would go so well against a deck that prized their Sparkling Crystal. If you do have that, yeah, you're going to run into some trouble. But he didn't know that he actually was given a gift on this game.
Now, usually you try to chase down those energies. Andrew, if he gets the Buddy Poffins with this Arven, could you even see him attach maybe to a Dreepy just so you can keep that Dracloak in play to potentially evolve? But again, that's a risky play when you don't have that Sparkling Crystal available to you.
Yeah, the preservation of the Dracloak and also considerations for how many rare candy you have. It's difficult to try to space out the threats of, well, I can place my energy here. You kind of just have to hope that your opponent doesn't have it in some of these circumstances, and thankfully you haven't seen the boss. You didn't see anything with the Pokegear just yet that made you think that you could lose your Pokemon, and that didn't happen last game as well, so a little more hope there too.
This is a really pivotal Arven for Andrew here. Again, just trying to make sure everything that is prized, but I kind of have to think it's got to be that Buddy Poffin and a Forest Seal Stone.
Yep, it lines up pretty easily here. You have a way to move your Duskull, protect that Pokemon, move a Budew into the active spot. Yes, you're probably going to give up a prize card, but just force your opponent to have the resources without the item cards.
It was that Buddy Poffin along with that Forest Seal Stone. Dreepy from the hand, Buddy Poffin will be able to find at least another Dreepy, and like you were saying, maybe that Budew. Could also just go for Duskull. We saw how important it was to have two of those in play.
Yeah, and if you think that your opponent has already established enough to take a knockout there, you lose a lot of what's important, the buying of an additional turn. We see that it's one metal energy in the hand, but there was no energy to discard. So it could have been a pretty good Budew turn.
Yeah, you Itchy Pollen into Trevor trying to play that Energy Search Pro, and you're like, no, sir.
Well, I suppose you do have the Cypher, and then you just coin bonus.
Yeah.
So you'll find the basic energies, but that's not a very great way to use your resources.
It's not flashy either.
It guarantees that Boss's Order is not played on your Dracloak, which is one of the most important pieces of this turn.
Honestly, one of the most important pieces just in this game is this Rotom V, at least throughout this game and a half that we've been seeing. It just gives Andrew so much advantage in trying to cobble together these giant turns. Third Gholdengo EX on the bench for Trevor. Coin bonus for one, finds a Nest Ball. It's not really going to help.
Yep, has the energies available to take a knockout in this spot, and the metal energy for attacking, and then the two energies to discard. Can coin bonus for two additional resources. And I mean, if it was Boss's Orders, you're jumping out of your seat there. Still potential, but at a bit more of a risk. If you use the Radiant Greninja at this spot, you'd have to find another resource, but maybe there's a Night Stretcher in hand. Didn't see just yet.
Well, Trevor's going to see these prize cards.
They're pretty easy to remember. It's, oh gosh, everything that I want mid-game.
Listen, Trevor's going to have the opportunity to take one of these, at least this turn. Hopefully it is one of the Professor Turo.
I mean, what a great reason not to play your Hisuian Heavy Ball. You shuffled it, and now it might not be at the bottom anymore.
Listen, Kyle, we don't need that bad energy into the universe here.
Well, I'm sure we'll get some help here and get to take a look at where those Turo land.
It's not good.
Uh-oh.
We do see that Cypher Maniac's code breaking for Trevor. Still has access to the concealed cards to draw into these two cards found off of the supporter. Could also just leave them on top for a potential Iono the next turn.
Yeah, one piece that we did not see on the previous turn was actually inclusion of that Spiritomb. That would have been pretty important to slow down a turn or maybe force Andrew's hand to have to go for a play with that Budew instead of drawing those additional resources.
It's in the deck for a reason, but sometimes it's just not available to you. Now, I didn't get to see the 2 cards that Trevor chose, but we're going to be able to see them here with this concealed cards. 4th energy in the discard finds a metal and that Gholdengo EX off the top of the deck. We'll be able to coin bonus for a 4th time. I love drawing cards. Do you love drawing cards, Kyle?
So it's the reason to play the game. It's got so many people excited. It's the reason why we see refinement and coin bonus all over the place. Even the Recon Directive players thinking the same thing, and it leads to knockouts quite like this one. Duskull hitting the discard pile, and that's putting Trevor up 1 prize in this game here, where he needs to mount a pretty big comeback after what we saw in game number 1.
Now I know Andrew has a ton of plays available to him this next turn, but could we see Itchy Pollen bring up Gholdengo on the bench or that Radiant Greninja and kind of just force Trevor to have a bunch of energies? I mean, there is 6 energies in the discard right now.
Well, that's why you see players like Trevor considering the metal energy. Having access to that energy is so pivotal. You see 1 in the discard pile, 1 on the Gholdengo. If you don't find the last metal energy, how are you ever attacking with the Gholdengo that could be promoted?
Recon Directive for Hedrick here. Second one to go along with it. Finds a counter catcher. That is a very powerful card right here and could enable that Budew play.
The only way that you don't grab Dracloak in spots like that, suppose also having another in hand is pretty great too. But it is a fantastic resource to have, and there's just so much potential for a turn like this. So many resources in hand.
Dusknoir and Night Stretcher to go along with it. Now there is no rare candy just yet, but that's not stopping someone like Andrew.
Yep, still plenty of time. Has upwards of 12, 13 cards now in the hands.
Each of these choices for your Recon Directives could make or break your turns. Opts for the Night Stretcher. It's going to be the second one to the hand. Has access to Pheasantipity if you want. Again, that just puts another 2 prizes in play. We are going to see the Ultra Ball here, discarding the Buddy Buddy Poffin, so I don't think we're going to see Budew.
Yeah, I mean, you'll find out very quickly that this attacking with the Dragapult in this spot is a fantastic choice. It's very difficult for your opponent to do anything with the double Turo and the prize cards. To move any of these damage counters, it has to be Monkey Dory and the Night Stretcher to go along with it, as we see 2 dark energies already in the discard pile. You're just asking for an abundance of resources from your opponent, who's been grasping at straws, trying to mount together some board state.
Now, does Andrew have the fire energy in hand?
He does.
Okay.
I'll tell you what, when you get 12 cards in hand, you have just about everything, minus that rare candy. But there's not a lot of pressure to find that rare candy in this spot. You're setting up for a big swing turn, maybe 1 or 2 stages down the road. This turn, it's all about the pressure. It's about forcing your opponent to have that double superior energy retrieval, using all their resources to clear this Pokemon. And if you can take or get yourself 1 step closer to your Dusknoir finding you that Sparkling Crystal, then you're going to be in a pretty great spot.
Night Stretcher grabs that second Duskull. So important, as we saw last game.
Yeah, this is what opens up so many of the avenues. You give up that single prize Pokemon, you don't care. If the Dragapult is knocked out, you go down to 3, then you have 2 more prize cards to play with as you give your opponent some of these knockouts.
So we saw the energy attachment on the benched Dracloak. Andrew's opting for boss's orders on a benched Gholdengo EX and just Jet Headbutt for 70 damage here. Going to get some damage on the board for a potential big play the following turn, but definitely interesting route here.
Yeah, this is much safer. And I think if he saw the prize cards, he'd say, I didn't need to do any of that, did I? These prize cards lead to this Pokemon being hard stuck in the active spot.
Cypher Maniac's code breaking. Gonna take a look through the deck. Is Energy Search Pro even that good right now? You're getting
1, 2, 3,
4 energy.
4. I mean, that's all of it, and it also helps you with that thinning process that we've spoken so much about. Just making sure that so many of your resources are going to be live draws from here on out. Any coin bonus could get you one step further. Even if it's fodder for a superior energy retrieval, these lead to knockouts over the course of time.
Here is that Energy Search Pro. Grabbing those basic energies out of the deck will have at least the mental energy to attack. And then along with the Superior Energy Retrieval in hand, that is the 7 energy needed to take the knockout on the active Dragapult EX.
Now you start to wonder, how many energy can Trevor get into his hand, take a knockout, and not overplay into Budew? Because this could get bad. If you only have enough for a knockout, and then you walk into a line with Counter Catcher, Boss's Orders, Budew, something to slow you down, you might not see energies ever again.
Another Superior Energy Retrieval found off that last coin bonus. Do we see a Pal Pad here, it seems like?
It seems like a pretty good idea to have some draws that wouldn't be bad against Budew in this spot. We do see that final attachment of the Metal Energy. Of course, one in the discard pile being the 3rd copy. But if you're going to take a knockout, you probably want that card in your hand. And I don't see how you do that by dealing 350 damage.
Again, we've been here before. Trevor building up this big one-hit knockout on Dragapult EX. There is 4 energy in hand. Now there's going to be 8 along with that Superior Energy Retrieval.
Yep. These are all the big considerations for sure. With those additional energies in hand, the metal can be held onto, thankfully. But do you use another Superior Energy Retrieval in this spot? Try to make sure that you have a few energies to work with. If it just becomes one of those spots where your opponent just continues to use Boss's Orders as a defensive maneuver.
Yeah, if so, though, I would have loved to see the first Superior Energy Retrieval discard a couple of the energies in the hand just so you can utilize it to its full effect. But here we go. Make it rain. 7 energies, 350 damage on that Dragapult EX. Trevor taking the knockout, going down to 3 prize cards. But we've been here before. What can Andrew put together on this turn?
2 Metal Energy in play, immediately wants to count the rest of those energies. Is going to have the news that there are 8 energy in the discard pile, I believe. So 2 copies, 2 energies left, or is that 9 there?
That's 9, yeah.
That's 9. That's a lot worse. That means there's 1 Metal Energy left to work with. It's used for the attack of a Gholdengo, and that means you do 0 damage. So, hello, Budew, my old friend.
Now, I guess the one benefit is Trevor did grab a Professor Turo scenario off the prize cards, so we'll be able to pick up a Gholdengo EX if Andrew decides to countercatcher it to the active spot and use that Itchy Pollen. But I guess, yeah, with the 1 energy in hand, you can make it rain, knock out the Budew. But if Andrew's able to get it back and then do it again, then it's game over.
Yes, that's the key piece there. If you can do this in combination with the Night Stretcher and one more way to move the active Pokemon by way of Boss's Orders, most likely, then you feel very good. Or do you have to just consider moving back over to that offensive approach? It's just pretty difficult to do when you don't have access to your Sparkling Crystal.
Both recon directives used. Arven is going to be played here to really just thin out the hand a little bit. Buddy Poffin will find that Budew. So we're going to see Itchy Pollen here. And Andrew's going to try to lock something down and shut Trevor out of those Superior Energy Retrievals that are in the hand.
Oh, this is so scary, but also so fun to see. These are the games that separate some of the good players and the greatest players. Having opportunities to slow down your opponents, take advantage of these spots where they have just one energy remaining. But the Turo really does throw a wrench in this plan.
There is that second counter catcher being used. Itchy Pollen, 10 damage on the Budew, but not even placing some damage counter on it. You know, you're just going to pick it up.
Oh, does this just come down to the placement of the prize cards at this point? You could see the Professor Turo pick up the Gholdengo, attack into this Budew, take the knockout, but then there's Forest Sealstone, Night Stretcher, Boss's Orders, Budew. We're right back where we were last turn, and you needed to find the Turo off those 3 cards. Off of that 1 in 3 prize card chance.
I don't even think the Turo matters, because even under Itchy Pollen, you're not going to be able to get any energy back to knock out. You're not going to be able to do 30 damage.
Yeah, great point. The energy's already gone at that point. This is so scary. Look at him. He's menacing.
Something about that smile just makes you want to knock it out.
He's got one of those hittable faces. Oh, just think about this for Trevor. So many resources in the deck, and he throws away the last energy to try to get the job done. Never wants to see the Itchy Pollen ever again. But that's exactly what Andrew's planning.
10 energy in the discard, 2 in play. Trevor only plays 12, and with Gholdengo, there's no real secret to your deck a lot of the times. We just have to believe that Andrew knows the game plan here, and it's to deck Trevor out.
Yep, this is a free retreat in Dusclops. You just knock yourself out. Who cares? You know your
boss's orders.
You know your opponent's counts. You find the boss's orders. It doesn't even have to be the Forest Sealstone at this spot. The Night Stretcher is in hand. Budew is coming back, and he is haunting everyone's nightmares.
This game is insane. Iono found as well. Probably not going to play that card. Like you said, Andrew has that second Night Stretcher in the hand. We'll be able to grab back the Budew and keep this Itchy Pollen train going.
At this point, considerations for Andrew are, how can I lose in a spot like this? The answer is, if your opponent has Boss's Orders, locks up a Pokemon that you weren't considering, you could be in for a little bit of trouble, and that's why it's so valuable that he found the Boss's Orders first. Now he has the Forest Sealstone that he can keep in play for the Rotom V to bail him out whenever possible.
And that Professor Turo scenario is the last prize card. Here's the Boss's Orders on that Gholdengo EX. And we are going to Itchy Pollen at 410. I feel like we're going to say this a lot.
It's for 0.
Oh, for 0.
Yeah, it makes the lock even more incredible. You can't do anything here. The only response is Boss's Orders stalling on a Pokemon. Hopefully it is not able to move. We're looking at a bunch of Pokemon with small retreat costs at this point, and Andrew has thought of just about everything.
Coin bonus.
Yes.
Boss's Orders.
Draw all the cards, is what he says.
There is the 3 coin bonus. Trevor has the Boss's Orders in hand, can bring up a Pokemon, but again, all the Pokemon on Andrew's bench just have 1 retreat cost. You gotta believe that there's energy available. Just 2 in the discard, 4 Sealstones in the hand as well.
Yep, would love to see this without the use of the Forest Sealstone in case there is another Boss's Orders.
Professor
Turos! And that has to be one of the final nails in this coffin. Energy is found along with Earthen Vessel. They're the same thing.
An embarrassment of riches here for Andrew Hedrick, as he is just a few more attacks away from punching his ticket into yet another top 4 of a regional championships.
Upwards of 20 cards still left in the deck, so very unlikely to be the one who decks out in this situation. Your opponent cannot stop how many cards are in their hand. It is up to you to play Iono and disrupt their hand. You will never do that. And Budew is closing this game out slowly but surely, one step at a time, itching away at victory here. There's what, 3-4 cards left in the deck? He's going to continue to draw, hopefully find boss's orders, put one more piece of pressure on him, and he finds it. I mean, we know there's psychic energy in hand.
Andrew grabbed 2 energy last turn.
Maybe he doesn't know what the purple card does. He does!
Just like that, energy on the Duskull, retreat to the Budew yet again. Itchy Pollen, no item cards for Trevor. A grip of cards in the hand, plenty of superior energy retrieval.
There you go!
But you're going to coin bonus yourself 2 deck out. And just like that, Andrew Hedrick moving on to top 4. What a match.
Woo! That is how you do it here, folks. Budew is an absolute danger to society, and you need to respect it. It got the job done here. So often, it is the case in the early stages of the game. It slows your opponent down, but if you can find that window, that little avenue, like Andrew Hedrick did, you're going to come out on top in so many of these close games. Flawlessly played, so fun to watch. He's moving on to the top 4.